Hi, now let's look at 22 through 24. But before we do that, I realized in the end of the last video, I forgot to tell you how you can be sure to make sure that both of your solutions are correct. So what you need, or that your solution is correct for both of them. So what you would have to do is you'd have to plug it in to see if it makes a true statement for both equations. So since 5 plus 15, so what was that, 5 plus caramel equals taffy, which was 20. That one works. And then each taffy was 8 ounces and each caramel was 16. And so when you add that up, that does equal 400 ounces. And so that's how you can tell that your answer was correct. Looking at number 22, it says when you write equations to solve word problems, you sometimes end up with two equations like Reynolds or like the two equations at the right. Notice that the second equation is solved for y, but the first is not. Change the first equation into y equals form and then solve the system, check your solution. So again, this equation right here is already solved with y equals. This one is not. And so your first step is going to be to solve this equation like we did at the end of chapter 3 to get y by itself. So to do that, first you'll subtract x from both sides. Then it's negative 2 times y. So the opposite of times is to divide. And you get y equals 4 divided by 2 is 2, and that's got a negative, so negative 2. And then here you have a negative and a negative, which will make that a positive 1/2 x. Now that they both have y equals, if y equals this and y equals this, that must mean these two things equal to each other. So you can set it equal, and so you had your equation that already had y by itself, so negative 1/2 x plus 4 equals negative 2 plus 1/2 x. When you solve that, you can add 1/2 x to both sides. When you do that, you'll have 4 equals negative 2 plus 1x. Add 2 to both sides, and you get 6 equals x. Once you know what x is, then you have to plug it back in to find your y. So if using this first equation, you could use whichever one you wanted. I used the first one, plugging in my x equals 6. So then I would have 6 minus 2y equals 4. Subtract 6 from both sides, divide both sides by negative 2. That tells you that y equals 1. So then your ordered pair is 6, 1. If you were to plug it into this other one, negative 1/2 times 6 is a negative 3. Negative 3 plus 4 is 1. And so it works for both equations. Therefore, it is the correct solution. Looking at number 23, a set of two or more equations with the same variable is called a system of equations. When you set the two equations equal to each other like Renner did in 421, you're using the equal values method to solve that system. So if there are 21 animals in Farmer Cole's farm, they're all sheep and chickens, then if the animals have a total of 56 legs, how many of each type of animal lives on the farm? Write a system of equations and use the equal value methods to solve it. Be sure to check your answer. So, looking here, we know that there were 21 animals on the farm. That means sheep plus chicken equals 21. The other thing that we know is that sheep have 4 legs and chickens have 2. So 4s, that'll give you all the legs of the sheep, plus all the legs of the chickens have to equal 56. So step 1 is to solve the equations. I chose to solve for c. So to solve for c, I subtracted 4s from both sides and then divided by 2. 56 divided by 2 is 28, minus 4 divided by 2 is 2. So c equals 28 minus 2s. The other one's a little easier to solve. You subtract s from both sides, and then boom, you're done. C equals 21 minus s. So then you will go through and you will solve this equation. So if the number of chickens equal 28 minus 2s and the number of chickens equals 21 minus s, we know that those two expressions have to equal each other. So I'm going to add s to both sides first. Then I have 28, negative 2s plus 1s is a negative 1s. So I have 28 minus s equals 21. Subtract 28 from both sides, and I get a negative s equals a negative 7. Divide both sides by negative 1, and that tells you that there are 7 sheep on the farm. So then you can check your answers. If you have 7 sheep, 7 plus what gives you 21? So it'll be 14. You could also plug that in here and you will see that that makes it a true statement. 4 times 7 is 28. 2 times 14 is 28. 28 plus 28 is 56. So I hope that helps, and you can reach out to me if you need some extra clarifications.